Hello, and welcome to The Update, where Grants Pass stays informed, engaged, and moving forward together. I'm Aaron Kubik, your city manager. We're going to do a quick recap of this week's city council meeting. With me today, I have Councilor Seth Benham. Seth, welcome.
Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, you're back again.
Short turnaround.
Wow. we are going to have all sorts of council members and even the mayor at times coming in, but this episode, we get Seth again.
It's Thanksgiving week, so I think everyone's probably on the road now or busy.
Yes, that is true. So today we're going to give an update on the November 19th meeting. We had a number of actions that occurred, and actually we had quite a full house that meeting.
Mm-hmm. Sold out.
Yeah, it was sold out. Wow. Sold out. So if you were lucky enough to get tickets.
Yeah, they were going for a premium on the after the secondary markets.
Yeah. Ticketmasters, beware.
Yeah, do you want me to just kind of walk through?
Yeah, if you could tell our listeners highlight some of the stuff that happened.
Yeah, the beginning of the meeting obviously was, kind of just some of the standard things we go through. We had a public hearing for a appeal of the UAPC's decision for Bowman's Choice Auto.
So you mentioned UAPC. What is UAPC?
The Urban Area Planning Commission, and so that's where, if I'm correct, right, where most of these decisions go to before even going to a council meeting, correct?
That is correct. If there's a planning land use issue, it goes to our planning commission. They make a recommendation. It's a quasi-judicial group also. So it's a true commission with some authority and power. Yeah. And then the opportunity for someone, if they don't get what they would like out of the planning commission, they can appeal it to city council, which occurred in this situation.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, basically, it was all about landscaping. And Bowman's Choice has already been working on that property for, I think, 4 or 5 years now.
Yeah.
And he's done a great job, actually. They've done a great job.
Oh, it looks great.
It's good for Rogover Highway. So yeah, I think council did 8-0 vote to reverse the decision. So he was able to do what he wants. So, but yeah, I think overall that was a good outcome.
Yeah. It was just a minor vegetation planting of a tree in a different location.
Yeah. I think too, staff was doing their job, and I think it's fine for people to either disagree or want to challenge it. And that's what happened, and went through the process, and here we are.
Yeah.
So got through that. And then we had 2 ordinances. One created a developer installed reimbursement district, and one creating a public installed reimbursement district.
Yeah, so reimbursement districts are unique. They're a great opportunity for developers that are required to put in public infrastructure to get some of the money back that they have to put in. They really think of it as if you've got a piece of property that you have to extend, say, water and sewer lines to that property to develop it, and you've spent, say, $500,000 to make that happen. Then along the lines come some other people that want to develop, and they want to hook into the main lines that you had to install. It's an opportunity for the developer who had to pay to install those lines for their development to get some money back. So that's why it's called a reimbursement district. And in this situation, we had a private party who needed to extend some public lines in order to develop their property. And so they set up a reimbursement district in case a neighboring property wanted to hook up to develop. And then also there was one that the city developed with regards to stormwater.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that one was interesting. I mean, it sounded like people were fairly excited about that, just being able to hook up to that, and when they start developing out there.
Yeah, that was a unique situation too, where we had Jason Kennedy, our public works director, and our public works crew and engineering team came up with this idea that we had this piece of property that we needed to develop anyhow for some stormwater. We looked around and we realized we can actually, with a little bit of modification, develop a bigger stormwater retention pond that would allow and help incentivize some additional development for developers to where they wouldn't have to create their own. They could just tie into ours.
Yeah. I think bottom line is both of these are good news for Grants Pass. It means development's happening.
Yeah.
And we're getting more housing and things like that. So, and actually that's, the next item was the vacating the street plug, which that was off of, was it J Street?
Yes, over there, sort of by the Lincoln.
Yeah,
yes,
Lincoln. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and that's again a good example of making it more accessible for developers to do the things they want to do, build some more residential houses, and that's what we need.
Yeah, and street plug, it's just really an old term. It's something that's been in place, and we still have a few out there where you create a development that's on paper, and a street plug is just a hard stop of a
I did have to Google the definition of a street plug before the meeting. I was like, what?
Yeah, you're such a street plug.
I was like, this is okay. So yeah, no. It's almost like an imaginary line, basically, right?
It is. Yeah.
I mean, there's a little gate there, but a little whatever.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And then I think the two big ones for Wednesday night, one was the resolution approving the Cycle Oregon event that's going to happen next August, at the end of August / early September. And so they are going to take over Riverside Park for a few days, bring 500 to 700 people into town. And I had talked with them, this was probably 6 months ago, maybe more, when they originally were thinking about, maybe even a year ago, about coming back to Grants Pass. And they were going to go to Reinhardt, which is also a great park.
Oh, yeah.
No problem there. But I was really pushing them to go to Riverside just because it's centrally located. It's within a walking distance to downtown. So I'm excited to see that that's where they ultimately ended up choosing. So hopefully we can drive some foot traffic and business to downtown as well.
Oh, that was back in 2009 or something along the lines when they were here last time. And I heard that it was very positive, and it was good for our downtown area also.
Yeah. So I mean, that's going to be huge. I'm excited for that. I think it's just good to get people from out of town, on these large events to come in and just check out Grants Pass and hopefully come back.
And this is a large event. If you looked at the map that they showed, they were utilizing a large portion of Riverside Park.
Yes. And I think they get their beer garden.
Yes, they do get a beer garden.
Yes. And I think they're going to bring in, I heard, potentially some local vendors for some food options and things like that. So, overall, I think it's going to be good for the city. You have to watch out for bikers out there, but it's going to be fun. And I guess like Chief Hensman said, you can get a DUI while riding your bike. So,
that's good information to know.
But the last resolution on here was the issuance of the homelessness grant to Elk Island Trading Company, and that did pass. It was obviously a long discussion. There was a lot of questions, discussion, public comment, and I think that was probably why the majority of people were in the audience. Obviously people probably know most of the background of that. We had originally awarded it to Pathways, and then they had a certain amount of time in order to, meet the requirements of the property, and that didn't happen. So that's when we went back to the drawing board, and Wednesday night was the official awarding of that. So that is moving forward. And we did award that, and let me find the budget. So the interesting part about that was where we got the money from. So we got half of it from the Lands and Buildings Fund and half from the opioid settlement funds. And I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about the opioid settlement funds, because that's interesting.
Yeah, it is. So that has to do with a settlement, $50 billion settlement. And municipalities are able to receive funds based on the opioid remediation efforts that occurred. And so these were distributed to states and cities and counties and tribal nations across the United States, resulting from a national lawsuit against the manufacturers of opioids and distributors. So we get a certain amount of funds. We had enough, at least $500,000 to. We have, I think, actually about $900,000 right now of those settlement funds, and those settlement funds have to be used for specific purposes, and usually it's drug rehabilitation and those type of efforts. And because the grant is associated with establishing camps and housing and resting sites for the unhoused with treatment associated with it, we were able to utilize some of those funds. So it was a great opportunity for us to relieve the general fund's burden for this grant project.
Yeah, no, I thought that was great. I mean, I think it shows that, we went through all the fund options, and I think we found the best. I had no clue about the opioid settlement fund. So until that night, and I was like, oh, this sounds like it makes sense for what we're trying to do.
Yeah, it's great when it comes together. We needed to use those funds for a specific purpose, and this was it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So obviously, like I said, that passed, and June is the timeline for that to be operational. So I think that'll be good. And the other thing that we did was we created, I don't know, are we calling it a task force? Are we calling it a community outreach group?
Yeah, sort of a community outreach team.
Yeah, community outreach with the police department, a city councilor, and some, obviously some representatives from Mint / Elk Island.
Yes.
To do some community outreach leading up to and probably during and after, while it's ongoing. Yeah,
and that the real purpose for that is that outreach is to try to get a general information exchange going between the neighboring community and the activities that are going to be occurring there.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, no, I thought that was a great suggestion. And, anytime you can just increase communication, especially with the public, is better.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, no, that's great. And so with the site coming online in June, again, the benefit, I want to make sure it's very clear. What does that do for our current resting sites?
So once it's online, I mean, the whole goal is to close these down, and that will be basically the hub moving forward is right there. So that's going to be huge for just the community in general, right? Especially the people that are living right around these camps have been affected quite a bit. But for a multitude of other reasons, right? Tourism, and just driving through town in general. So hopefully, I think this whole process, with Elk Island, it puts us on the path to the next step, right? I mean, this is probably going to change between now and a year or 2 years from now, if the laws in Oregon change, if the federal laws change, anything could happen. So, and hopefully it's only for the better, right? It doesn't make it harder. But I think, regardless, this will be a positive step in the right direction, for what's next and not going backwards.
That's a really good point, because when I've looked at other communities and when they first established their programs, there is a change that occurs. And so this is a great first step, and it's a great opportunity for us to be able to comply with Senate Bill 3115 and our ability to also increase services to the unhoused. And so it's going to be a great opportunity for the city.
I think too. I mean, I think people don't realize that we are sort of ahead of the curve in Grants Pass. I think there's potentially a lot of other communities, especially in Oregon, that don't, have anything close to what we've got going on, and are probably going to have to face the same struggles in just a different way. I mean, reality. I mean, I remember when we went to the League of Oregon Cities last spring at the spring conference, the director during her presentation basically said, hey, you're gonna either be in a lawsuit or you already are, right? So just prepare yourselves, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's inevitable. And so that stuck with me when she said that. It's like no one's really safe, I mean, everyone's gonna have to figure it out.
Yeah.
So I would say that regardless of how long it's been going on here, and we've obviously been the center of the news and all the things, I think this hopefully finally puts some of that behind us and we can move forward. It's still obviously going to be a topic, but I think it'll be more positive moving forward.
You make a good point there. Hopefully there's going to be a landscape change. And we've talked about this at a council level when we talked about legislative priorities. The state of Oregon has talked about it. The League of Oregon Cities have talked about it, about the need to change the dynamic that House Bill 3115 has put on to the cities. So that landscape might change a little bit, but if it didn't, or however it moves forward, one of the good things that you mentioned is we've already gone through our lawsuit. We actually are ahead of the game, as you were saying, from a standpoint of clarity. We have clarity exactly from the court system on what's objectively reasonable when it comes to how many beds we need to have, what that needs to look like. So our time, place, and manner has pretty much been defined. There's a lot of communities out there where that's still an unknown. And so we have very clear objectives that we need to uphold.
Yeah, I mean, in reality is it's never going to completely go away, right? That's just society. I mean, and so we just have to do what we can to obviously help certain people. And I really hope too that, the other applicants that went through this process still step up to the plate, whatever that means. I'm not sure for them, but I hope they participate and, still do what they want to do to help, create a better solution moving forward. So,
yeah, we have so many great nonprofits and individuals that provide services to the unhoused. And I do share that with you. I think that hopefully this grant program that the city put together and what we're developing will strengthen those partnerships.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes, I agree.
And I do think the grant program itself that the city did was relatively unique. It was an opportunity for the city to support those nonprofits that are in the game, that understand, and not the city trying to define it ourselves. So it was a very unique from that perspective, and I think a very proactive approach that council took in order to create this grant program.
Yeah, I mean, I think too, as the city, in any city, you're under the microscope, right? So the more you can get away from being in control of some of these things, the better. I mean, because again, lawsuits, things like that, especially if you're the government. So, we've been talking about this since I was on council.
Oh yeah.
So for almost 10 months now. And, I mean, no solution or plan that we had was going to be perfect, right? Whether we purchased a piece of property, we did a grant. I mean, they're all going to have flaws in some way, shape, or form, right? So as long as we can get to where we are now, that was kind of the biggest thing, right? The biggest win. So
it was a big win. And to highlight again, we mentioned that we're going to be able to look at closing down those resting sites that we have. And I want to make sure it's clear again, just like our first episode, the site that we've chosen and that Elk Island has gotten along with Mint is going to be a managed facility. So it's not going to be an unmanaged facility like what we have here. So there's going to be barriers, there's going to be rules that people have to follow, and the impact to the neighborhoods in the surrounding area will be much different than what you're seeing right here on 6th and A Street.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, and that's... Some people obviously know that, some people don't, and that's fine. But, moving forward, it is important to get the message out there that it is not going to be just relocated to that piece of property. So, yeah.
Yeah. So that brings us up also, since we're talking about our unmanaged facilities too, want to point out, because there's been some chat in the community about, well, we see a change over here on 5th and A Street. It's now an empty parking lot. It's still fenced. It still has that as an overflow. And we've moved individuals to what's considered the old Yankee Pot Roast, our overflow location.
Yeah.
And there's been some question out there in the public, well, are you expanding your services? I mean, what are we doing here? And I just wanted to make sure that it's clear that council and the city, we're not expanding our services. It was an opportunity for us to do a few things. And I think one of the things that council was concerned with was the impact to the surrounding neighborhood. We're able to maybe transition some of that away from 5th and A Street, and also still adhere to our 150 resting sites by just having it all on 6th and A and at their overflow location. Yeah, I
mean, because obviously, these neighbors around here have been putting up with a lot. So, whatever we can do in the near future, because again, the new location, the grant, I mean, that's still 6 months out. So that's very clear. Yes, the grant is being awarded. We're going through that process, but it is going to take a number of months for us to do the transition. One thing with the grant, maybe we could talk about, is the disbursement of funds. There was an email that came to council this morning, actually, regarding that, asking, is it just going to be handed out on a big check? Is it going to be all at once? So you probably have more than that. It's dispersed as the project goes on, correct?
It is, yeah. And a lot of times we try to do it through a reimbursement perspective or through actually paying the title and escrow for a property purchase. Yeah. It's not provided to an individual usually. There's that property purchase where it'll go through the title and escrow. And then there's the infrastructure that's going to be established, the hardscape stuff that's going to be on the property. And a lot of times that'll be based on a reimbursement perspective. So, and that's part of how we control the costs associated with that and make sure they're being spent appropriately.
Yeah, that's good. It's good information, right? So it's not just being handed out all at once.
Yeah.
And here you go.
Yeah, that's correct. Yep. So. No, we're not just writing a check like you see on The Price is Right. Oh, look, I won a giant. And you get some kind of giant check for plain Plinko. Yeah. That's not how it works.
Perfect.
Thanks for bringing that up. So that really encompasses the what happened at the council meeting. Is there, looking out forward at our council schedule for workshops and meetings, is there anything that you see that might be coming up that is going to be important for our listeners to be engaged with, or things that you want to highlight that we're going to be potentially looking at in the future?
Yeah. Well, next Monday, there's some interviews for some candidates for some of the committees. The GP Nexus Incubator is coming back around.
Oh, that's right. They have provided a presentation before in the past, and council wanted some additional information, I think.
Yeah, and that was at a business meeting, I believe. So bringing it back around to a workshop so I think that'll be good to get just a deeper and have more time for question and answers on Monday for that. Just looking out here at the.
From a staff perspective, I know we're starting to think along the lines of budget and those kind of things, and we're thinking budget calendar and strategic planning, and we did talk with council about strategic planning and what that might look like, and when you might want to have that.
Yeah, that's already coming back around. That's crazy. It's already going to be 2026. Yeah, no, I mean, do we have anything? I don't know. What was the conversation as far as strategic planning? What's the next step on that?
Yeah, the next step is we've got it slated for January 15th and 16th. That's sort of a 2-day project. And
I see here now.
And talking with the X team, which are our department heads, and talking with council and the discussion we've had, I think the strategic plan, of course, our strategic plan, just for our listeners, is a 2-year plan. And we're starting our second year here in 26. So we're not going to do a full-born, just open it up, full strategic plan. But we'll do an update. We'll give council an update on our successes, and we'll give a forward look at what we think we're going to be able to accomplish in the next year. And then see if that still aligns with some of the things that we've got going on, because it's been a year and things change, and we want to make sure it's relatively up to date, but we won't go into a big detail. We're also going to do a team building training session with council, and that'll be good. And so we're work on that, and that'll be fun. And then also we're going to have an opportunity for all of the chairs of the advisory committees to get in front of council, to talk to council about their goals, talk to council.
That'll be good.
Yeah.
I remember we talked about that. I mean, just hearing the advisory committees and what they've done, the goals they have for the future. I mean, because that's their job, right? Is to meet and their citizens, and they come up with ideas and, make recommendations to council. So it's always important to hear from them.
Yeah. So that's going to sort of be, in a nutshell, that's sort of what that 2-day or day and a half will look like.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and that's
it's going to be a packed. It looks like December and January are full.
It is. And the great thing about doing strategic planning in January is it's right before we start talking about budget issues, because right after that, we're going to be talking about our budget policies and our future financial outlook. We've done a lot of wonderful things with the city, and so we need to make sure we keep on track with regards to revenues and expenses, and we're going to be able to have that opportunity in that discussion to talk with council in February after strategic planning.
Perfect. Cool.
Yeah. So you mentioned the incubator is going to be one of those items for discussion at our upcoming workshop. For our listeners, you want to sort of talk about what in the world is an incubator?
Yeah. That's a great question.
Because, a lot of people are like, what?
Yeah. And, I think another word for it too is innovation hub. I think a makerspace can fall under that category as well. Right. It kind of, there's different ways, different concepts. Some of them focus on certain things. So this specific one, I mean, I think there's more to it, but to my knowledge, the big focus is food and beverage, right? So a commercial kitchen somewhere where either a startup can come in and start creating products or learn, have classes and things like that, or an established, whether it's a food truck, whether it's somebody that's already making a product but needs a bigger space, more space that they can use. So I know that's a big portion of this innovation hub incubator, if you want to call it that, that they're trying to get those funds for. And, those funds, when they came to council, I don't know when that was, like a month and a half ago or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Those funds are already set aside in a fund right now. It's specifically for an innovation hub.
Yes.
And that dates back to I think 2017 or 18 when the Small Business Development Center through RCC was originally going to put in an innovation hub. Because I remember that because I was sort of part of that project when it was happening, and then it just kind of fizzled out. But so needless to say, that money is still there, right? And I think it's important, that we as a council look at that and, especially that they're coming back around to the workshop to do a more in-depth presentation to really answer those questions that council may have. But, this is a common thing across the United States is innovation hubs, incubators, maker spaces. They have a maker space in Central Point, I think it's.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
There's a couple others over there. Talent, I think, has one. And again, slightly different concept, focuses on different industries. But, the food and beverage, Grants Pass is kind of becoming a hub for that. There's a lot of food trucks. There's a lot of great restaurants. Yeah. And people that are trying to start those things, right? So I am all for it, right? Because I think that's a huge draw for this town is, to have a great food scene, culinary scene. So I'm excited to see where this goes. I think too, it's one of those things that, not everyone's going to succeed, right, when they come through a program like that. But even if you get one out of every 50 people that go through and they succeed, whether it's right then, whether that's 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, I mean, that's to me is a win for the price, for the amount of money that we're trying to give to this organization. So I think it's a win for Grants Pass and for the city council. I mean, it supports small business, entrepreneurs, startups, and yeah, did I answer that good enough?
No, I think you did. And ultimately it's a policy board like city council being able to have a direct impact on the culture of our community from a standpoint of how we support small business.
Yeah. And there was a comment on the last, when it came to the business meeting regarding this subject. And I think the comments center around that, Grants Pass doesn't need something like this. And so I thought about that afterwards for a while. Yeah. And, I think it's hard to say that, right? Because you may think that, right? Somebody could say that and think that that's true, right? Like, well, I don't need it, so nobody else needs it. But the reality is, especially in business, right? I mean, we all are in a different industry doing different things, right? So what they do in the food and beverage industry is completely different than what I do in marketing and and all these other industrial, whatever it is. So while you might not need it, or while I might not need it or utilize those services or whatever, I mean, the people that are doing restaurants and food trucks and food products, I mean, they're going to need it, right? So just as like I'm going to go get help from other organizations and trainings and things like that, vice versa, right? They're not going to do that either. So I think that's important to realize too, is just that there is a need. It just might not be your need, but it can fill somebody else's need. And I think, that's really important.
Yeah. Well, that'll be exciting to have that discussion then.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, I don't really have anything. We've covered quite a bit today.
Great. We did. And as always, it's a great time to be able to sit down and talk with you and talk with our listeners. And Seth, I greatly appreciate you as a counselor and being here today and helping us out with the podcast.
Yeah. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah. Thank you.
Perfect.
You can find this episode and future ones on the city's website and on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We plan to release new episodes twice a month following council meetings. I'm Aaron Kubik. Thank you for being part of the Grants Pass community and listening to The Update, where Grants Pass stays informed, engaged, and moving forward together.